Welcome, folks, to the 2 Cents Podcast with Jay Richardson. I am your host, Jay Richardson, and I'm very, very excited, as always, to be doing this. I love this podcast. I like being able to connect with you guys. I like being able to give not just my take on certain, sports, current event elements, but also give the take that a lot of guys who I've spoken with in the athlete, entertainment community definitely have been agreeing with, or at least giving me their 2 cents, and I appreciate that. And over the last couple of weeks, I've gotten y'all's 2 cents in terms of feedback on the show, which I always appreciate and want more of. Today's episode, we are going to dig into just a couple topics, and then we're going to finish off with something that has, for the last week, been really nagging at me, so I gotta talk more about it. But first up, it continues. The saga continues. Zeke versus the Cowboys. Right now, they are still at a standstill on his contract, and things have only gotten stranger, or I guess more divisive, when Jerry Jones essentially joked with a reporter, a local beat writer, who was asking some questions. And obviously he asked about Zeke. His first question, where are we on the Zeke thing? And Jerry Jones said, Zeke who? Just trying to be funny. And if you know Jerry Jones, whom I've had the pleasure of meeting once or twice, he's a jokester. He's kind of a billionaire, he clowns around, but that's just his personality. I get that side of it, and he does pay the guys that he wants to pay, and he loves his players. I mean, you've seen him be emotional about his players. When Zeke was going through his ups and downs in his first year or so, you saw him being very, very emotional about his off the field issues. I'll put it like that. So Jerry loves him some Zeke, but that was not a good thing to say. And Zeke and his agent, it was reported that they were both, didn't find that very cute and didn't think that was cool. They felt disrespected, quote, by Zeke, and he will remain apparently in Mexico working out and partying. I don't know. He's underweight. He's about 5 pounds down. They say he's shredded. They say he looks like a beast right now, and he's lean as he was since his rookie year, which I'm sure the Cowboys would love to see that product on the field. They have a couple guys backing him up, but they do not have that monster. And until they get him back, they will not be feared and respected like they were, because everybody knows when you are game planning to stop the Dallas Cowboys, your first order of business is to shut down that running game, and Zeke is the engine that makes that go. However, the Cowboys did find money for linebacker Jalen Smith. Florida Notre Dame linebacker had the knee injury when he played the Buckeyes a handful of years back and healed himself up, which I love to see guys heal and come back, and played very, very well and earned himself an extension. And that extension is no joke. You got a 5-year extension, and he's looking at $35 million guaranteed. The total value of the contract could go to about $64 million. I tell you guys this just to say that if you're in Cabo or Cancun or wherever Zeke is down there, on the beach, backpedaling through the sand and working on his jump cuts and not cutting his hair or beard, if you are him, you're looking at the news and you're going, oh, wow, so y'all found money for Jalen and y'all still haven't been able to find me my money. Now that's a problem. That's going to add, that feels like it'll make it personal to Zeke. And that's what you hate in this business, in this sports entertainment business. You don't want to make things personal if you can, although we are people and it's our bodies on the line out there, and things do get personal, and contracts often don't get respected, and that's a personal thing as well. But this one, I think he'll look at this, if I'm Zeke, and I don't know if he's a sensitive guy or not, but he strikes me as somebody that's going to get this news and feel some kind of way about, in the middle of their dispute and him just trying to get what he's earned, what he thinks he's worth, he's certainly, outplayed the numbers he's getting, and we understand that. He's top 2, top 3 running back in the league. To me, if I could start a football team and pick one running back, it'd be between Zeke and Gurley, just because Zeke, of his durability, his power, he can hit the home run balls, and then, Gurley, that athleticism, but he's not as healthy as Zeke. Saquon is right there, and we'll see if he gets a good line one day, just how much damage he can do in this league. But, it'd be those two for me right now. So I feel like Zeke's going to get his money. I feel like he deserves the money. I think they will get it done. A lot of folks think there could be a trade in the works. Some have even alluded to a possible trade with the Indianapolis Colts and the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously for Ezekiel Elliott, I don't know that I see that happening yet because the identity of the Cowboys really is Zeke. So you want to see that get done. They'll get it done. They have to. Otherwise, they're in trouble. Moving along, we got Antonio Bryant being Antonio Bryant. Antonio Brown. I don't know why I always want to call my man Antonio Bryant. I don't know. I must be cool with the other AB, so I always want to call him that. But, the Oakland Raiders AB is always into something. It can't never just be a nice, chill week. We can't just grab the helmet that that the league gives you, put it on, strap it up, and go do what you love to do. It can't just be don't spend 3 hours in the cryotherapy and you almost have to get your feet amputated. No, it's always got to be something with AB. And the latest is basically the continued helmet grievance. He hasn't been able to just put it aside. I don't know why. They told you your helmet's 10 years dated, and like any company or any sort of manufacturing, whenever they have dated products, whether it be machinery or whether it be safety tools, they have to be updated. Otherwise, you're liable for what happens to your employees or your clients. And I think what he's got to understand, Antonio Bryant, is that, dude, if the NFL says that helmet now is dated and it's no longer, maybe it's not under warranty, or maybe they're not going to insure that, my man, you are going to have to switch out helmets. And that's just part of the deal. It's there to protect you anyway. You should probably want to do that. But it can never be that easy with him. And then you get guys who have played with him in the past now commenting that, man, I'm starting to really, see what everyone was talking about, and it's only continued in Oakland. Speaking of James Harrison, going on FS1 and basically talking about what's done in the dark comes to the light, and AB's always been like this, and, Oakland's going to get a taste of it now. And he talked about AB having special privileges, and that's what I wanted to quickly get into. Listen, we all know life ain't fair, and no one is treated fairly, just in this world in general. So let's just get that out of the way right now. And if people think that in a locker room every player is treated fairly or the same, you're sorely mistaken. We are all commodities in that locker room, and your arrow is either pointing up or it's pointing down, and you want to keep your arrow blinking up. You were all just little stocks. And whoever's arrow is blinking the brightest and then pointing up is usually the guy that's going to be treated a little bit different in that locker room. So if you are in the Green Bay locker room and your name is Aaron Rodgers, you're going to be treated vastly differently than the incoming, rookie free agent who's trying to make the team. We can understand that. Antonio Brown is someone that is in tops of all receiving statistical categories over the last 9 years. I mean, since 2010, there's very few guys who have done more than Antonio Brown in the NFL. So obviously, he's going to be treated just a little bit differently in any locker room he's in, and we're starting to see that. The better you are, the longer a leash you get before they start yanking on it. And you saw Raiders GM Mike Mayock finally start yanking on that leash a little bit and going, hey, Antonio, dude, you're either with us or you're not with us. And let us know right now, if you're going to ride with us, then we need you in camp practicing, or at least doing what you can, because he has missed a few practices. Not really an excuse miss. It's just he didn't want to be there that day, and that's something that you can't have. As a guy who's been in locker rooms where we've had receivers who some would, I guess, call divas, to me, I don't care. I come in, I do my work, and I get out. But there's other guys who definitely feel some kind of way about them having to put in a full day's work, and someone who's held in I guess higher esteem in the coaching room, a player who's given those extra privileges can miss practices or miss basically days of work, not come on the job, and there be no sort of reprimand or no sort of nothing that the team does about it. And I think that's something that will get under guys' skin. And it only matters. All of this stuff on the offseason, like all this crap that the Raiders are going through with AB, none of it matters if AB comes out healthy for the opener and absolutely lights it up. But if he does not, these are the things they're going to point at. It's no different than a couple years back when Odell and some of the Shepard and some of the guys from the New York Giants receiving corps decided to spend an off day during a playoff game week, on yachts and boats and stunting for Instagram and baby oiling up and, taking off their shirts and trying to take pictures. And that looked real lame. when they went out the following week and dropped passes and got their butts kicked. So the off-the-field stuff only looks bad if you go out there and play bad. If AB goes out there and lights it up, no one cares, and they're all singing his praises by November. Let's see how this plays out. Next up, this one's a little bit more personal, this particular story, and it's about a young man, the QB1, we call it now, the starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, Baker Mayfield. Most of you know Baker Mayfield played for Oklahoma. Oklahoma played Ohio State Baker's senior year for the second time. First time Ohio State beat Baker in Oklahoma when they beat them, and this time they came to the Horseshoe in Columbus, Ohio, came to Ohio Stadium, and Baker Mayfield and the Oklahoma Sooners did beat Ohio State. And after that particular game, Baker ran over to the center of the field, right on our Block O, which is sacred grounds. I don't know if Baker understands this, but that is sacred grounds. And he planted his school's flag, that OU flag, he planted right in the center of Ohio Stadium. I need Baker to understand this. Had that been the teams of past, Ohio State teams of the early 2000s, let's say, Baker would not have made it out of that stadium with his helmet. He'd have probably lost a shoe and a little bit of blood, because it would have been a very physical deal for him. We have a much more docile group now. We have a bunch of fantastic kids with good GPAs and wonderful families, and they were raised a little bit better than that. When I played, half the locker room was criminals, and they would not have allowed that to happen. I need Baker to understand this, and I'm getting all this, and this is all, I'm discussing this because in GQ, Baker did an interview in the magazine, and he just was being very, very forthcoming about how he felt about a lot of things. And he said he did not regret doing that. And you know what? If I'm him, I'm saying the same thing. I get that. That's just what you do after you do something like that. Why pretend to apologize? Because he had to give an apology, and it was it was half-hearted, and as it should have been. Because if you're gonna do something, don't apologize about it. I don't even know why he apologized. He felt how he felt. He did what he did. I'm just saying, if that had been my year and that had been my group of guys, it wouldn't have gone down like that. There would have been a little bit of furniture moving. But he also said something else. He's been doing this for a little while now, and this is kind of the reason I wanted to bring this up. He mentioned Daniel Jones and the Giants drafting him in this past spring's draft, and he mentioned that it was obviously not a great move. He specifically said it blew my mind. Couldn't believe they did that. We all know Daniel Jones has actually been looking pretty decent in the preseason, maybe the best rookie QB in the preseason, for whatever that's worth, for whatever that matters, and he should be. Trust me. I know. The GM Gettleman really wants him to pan out, because they did not take Ohio State's Dwayne Haskins. They took Daniel Jones. Everyone was trying to figure out why they're taking this kid from Duke who just doesn't have the resume, but they felt like he had the requisite skill set to be the successor to Eli Manning. Sure, maybe, and in the preseason he looks good. I think part of that, what people don't realize, is every QB goes into the preseason with, just a Cliff Notes version of the actual playbook, and rightfully so. You don't want to show too much. You don't want to unleash the playbook in the preseason, and then teams are ready for it in the regular season. So a lot of QBs you're not going to see their best or all the tricks they can pull out, and they always feel limited in the preseason. That's how every QB feels, and they're all learning. I got a feeling that the Giants staff felt like we got to make sure we justify this pick as early as we can. Let's give a little bit more of the playbook and give the young rookie Jones out of Duke a few more options in his passing attack, so that he looks good, so that everyone can go, oh, okay, this kid might actually light it up. Now, regular season we'll find out what he really is, because he will play this year, even though they've come out and said they don't want him playing, and they hope Eli has a full healthy year. That kid's going to play. We all know it. It's just how it goes when you're picked that high up, top 20. But what I want to say about Baker, flashback here, is, dude, I get it. You have your opinions and you ask questions and you're a talker and you're the kind of guy that, you don't mind opening your mouth and saying certain things. He's got that kind of a, mentality or attitude or whatever, and that's just how he is. I don't mind that, but he needs to know, and I've said this before, this league will really, really humble you. And I think he's in for, I don't know, maybe a little taste of his own medicine, because guys hear that. The guys around this league, they know, okay, we got Baker. He runs his mouth. I'm sure Daniel Jones is watching that going, damn, man, that's how you feel about me? And people hold on to these things. And the moment it's you, and you're having an off day, please believe guys are going to jump all over it. So as long as he's ready for that, that's cool. But doing a lot of talking but haven't won no real significant games yet. And I'd like to see him do more winning than talking. Just my 2 cents on that. Finally, to wrap this episode up, we got to continue to talk about what's going on between Jay-Z and the NFL. I know, we really dug into it last episode, but man, this is not going to go away. People continue to come out with new takes on what they think the issue is. And before you know it, this turns into a thing. What sparked it, rekindled the fire this week was a couple things. One, and this is, it's just petty, but it definitely happened. We all know that Dolphins owner Stephen Ross has been a donator of the Trump campaign, a supporter of the Trump campaign. We also know that Dolphins receiver Kenny Stills, a former teammate of mine with the New Orleans Saints, great guy, fantastic receiver, talented young guy. He's got one too many tattoos, and he has tattoos of like emojis on his arm, which I think are really dumb, but he said it had to take up space. I've digressed. I just wanted to say that Kenny, your tattoos suck. But what I want to know is why what happened this week happened. And I know why, but it's just going to be, it's laughable, but here's what happened. So it's a big kind of pot of different elements all stirred into one. One is Jay-Z obviously is partnering with, the NFL to possibly have a stake in ownership of a team and also to revamp the halftime show and do some other things. We get that. I don't have a problem with that. I don't know why people do. Two, Eric Reid, Kenny Stills, and these guys have spoken out about their lack of or their non-support of what Jay-Z is trying to do. Apparently Eric Reid alluded to Jay-Z selling out, which I thought was way out of bounds. And if you're going to say Jay-Z's selling out for working with the NFL, then I guess E. Reid, you two are a sellout, because I don't know if you know this, but your last handful of checks, I can almost guarantee came from the NFL because you still are employed by them. So I don't understand what the issue is there, or how you can say that one guy is a sellout for doing something that you're doing. I don't. Like I said, it's not Jay-Z's job to make sure Colin Kaepernick has a job. I don't even know if Colin Kaepernick wants a job in the NFL. He's doing just fine without it. He also signed an NDA and took the money he needed to take, as he should have, to move on. So he needs to move on from his attacking the NFL and get back into what he was originally here for. And that was raising awareness about social injustice issues, which Jay-Z has also done. So, these two things are separate issues, and people are trying to group them all into one, and then they're trying to use this to find ways to attack the other side, and it doesn't make any sense. The reason I bring up the Dolphins in the first place is because knowing this information, knowing that, Kenny apparently doesn't like Jay-Z or whatever, the head coach of the Dolphins decided to play 8 Jay-Z songs in a row to start off practice. So petty, but it speaks to something bigger, and I want people to really listen to this, what I'm about to say here. Whenever there's serious issues, whenever there's serious topics, and certain communities band together to discuss said issues and to protest a certain issue, what happens is other things pop up, and the narrative continues to twist and change. And before you know it, when I say we, I mean the cultural group that might be protesting social injustice, right? We all of a sudden get distracted, and we begin to attack everything but the original issue we were trying to attack, which was raising awareness about how minorities and people of color in this country are treated by its law enforcement and state agents. I think that's something that is a serious thing. We've been seeing it, for years now. I mean, really decades and about a century now, or over a century. But now it's being recorded. So obviously it's a whole different ballgame when you can see it happening, and now it's verified. I get why that's such a huge deal, and I get why different athletes, entertainers have tried to bring awareness to it, and I appreciate that, and I understand it. What happens, though, is once the support for that movement starts, we get distracted. We easily get distracted by whoever's not on that bandwagon, whoever is or isn't supporting, and then we also get distracted because other elements get added to the mix. So this Jay-Z thing, we got somebody, from our community who's a part of the culture, who's done tons for social injustice, bailed more rappers out of prison than anybody has put up, all kind of bond money, has paid for lawyer fees, has done documentaries on Trayvon and paid for funerals, and, done his best to stay involved, has built water pipelines in Africa and made sure they had clean water. And just, you're talking about a guy who's not just someone who raps, right? Like, he's a mogul, he's a hip hop icon, we understand that. But he's also somebody that cares and has done something with his clout and his money, and I think that is important. So next step up for him is he wants to have ownership in the team and also kind of infiltrate this NFL ownership circle and start to make some changes that way, I'm assuming. But even if he wasn't, he has every right to do whatever with his money he wants to, and if that's what he wants to do, if he wants to buy a team and partner up, that's fine. I don't understand how people can equate him partnering with the NFL as a slap in the face to Colin Kaepernick. The two are completely different, separate issues. One is a business guy making a move that makes sense for his business goals. The other is a guy who wanted to draw attention and awareness to a specific topic. I don't understand, when did it become the goal was to go after the NFL? If that was the case, Eric Reid, if your goal was to go after the NFL, well, you probably wouldn't be working for the NFL. Kaepernick was never kneeling for a job, and he was never kneeling to get people to attack the NFL. No. And I think that is where we get distracted. And there we begin to start venturing off down the rabbit hole, so to speak. And, Shannon Sharp put it best. He, in FS1 the other day, he goes, and here we are again now. Instead of fighting, quote unquote, the system or the power, we're back to fighting each other. Now we're mad at Jay-Z. And in this modern cancel culture that we live in, some are wanting to cancel Jay-Z. For what? Well, he's working with the NFL now. Okay. Whoever said the NFL was the enemy? I thought it was the people, in Washington who make these laws. I thought that was who we were trying to raise awareness to. I thought that was who we were trying to go after and say, you need to make a change. Not the NFL. Their job is to entertain and put a product out there. And that product that they put out there is fueled by tons of black and brown men who feed their families off of what that product distributes. So if you guys want to find somebody to be mad at, head out east to Washington, go to Pennsylvania Ave, and try to talk to some people in power there. But the NFL that's not their job. The NFL doesn't write policies. They don't change laws. They don't make laws. I'm not sure what people ever expected from the NFL.